forehand, topspin, backhand's a little more slice. Not a bad. It's a neutralizing ball. Is that what you're going to say to me? No volleys hardly. Did he ever come in?
Yeah, he did. He did come in. He was trying, I think, especially in the beginning, but then he backed off. He didn't. He only came up when he got a short ball, but other than that, but he didn't come up as much. I felt like he was letting me do that more. Yeah, he backed off of doing that.
Okay, so now we kind of have an idea of what the player, a visual of what the player looks like, the player you were playing. So when you were playing the points out, what was your goal most of the time? Was it to take offense? Was it to look for off balance in a player? Was it to prepare points most of the time?
Well, I think sometimes I get a little bit lost in the match in terms of I'm not always thinking about setting up the point. I kind of lost track of what we were.
Getting points set up.
Yeah.
Because like, what I want to know from you is how you were.
Yeah. Well, I remember one thing though that I was thinking about that I wanted to try to do was hit some balls down the middle, because just to kind of, because lately I've had a tendency to be floating some balls long, and so kind of just to bring myself into a little bit more rhythm, I want to hit some balls down in the middle and see what would happen, to see too if his stroke might fall apart. But I don't know, looking back at that match, I felt like my main opportunity to attack was on the return of serve, and that's where I was. I was stepping in there, and I was placing a lot of those balls in corners. Although I got into I especially remember on the backhand side, but he did put that second serve to my backhand, and that one, I don't know if this was right. I sensed maybe that it wasn't. I kept hitting those to his backhand. I had some good pace on it, but as you've mentioned before, this opponent is fairly athletic, and also he's already standing on that side. So I don't think that was my best shot. I should have been going more down the line on that backhand return to serve. I probably would have had more opportunities to finish the point there. And I went into that match realizing this particular match, forget about my forehand and what I'm trying to learn with it. Just do what comes naturally. What I've been doing, and go with that. And I did do that. Unlike last night. Last night when I played, I was playing without a forehand because I didn't know, it was in my head. I was trying to play the forehand I'm learning, and I probably shouldn't do that. When I get into a match, you just have to go with what I know best.
Well, and it's also realizing that going from the practice court to a match court, you can lose up to 20% control and power. So to take that on the court, you've got to test it a little bit, but you've also got to have your backups.
Right. So, but in this particular match in the tournament, the second match, though, I did do well there. I played my strength, to the forehand that I know the best. A lot of top spin, and it wasn't that penetrating, but I was getting it in the court. I played pretty competitively. I felt I should have won that match. I didn't capitalize on that return to serve the way I should have, and this is where I wish I had a video, because I can't picture in my mind whether I was coming up behind that all the time. And like I said, like I just mentioned, I think I was driving the ball to the wrong spot. I should have, especially on the backhand, I should have been driving it down the line to make it move a little further, and then immediately come up to the net behind it, staying on that same side of the net and trying to volley it away. So one of the things I particularly remember, though, I got to tell you about, there's a couple of things in that match which were kind of turning points in a way. I think it was in the first set, though, where I missed 3 overheads in a row. I mean, that tells you I was getting up to the net. But, I think I hit a couple into the net and one long. And that you know, if I would have got those in, he probably would have emotionally started to fold.
Mm-hmm.
But I missed, so it went back on me. And then the other thing that I really remember about this match was in the second set. This was a huge turning point. For some reason, this kid, we got into this game with all these deuces, and I started to realize he was calling out each deuce. He was numbering each deuce. Most players don't do that, but he was numbering them. We got up to deuce number 10. I said, deuce 10! Okay. To my back, deuce 10, I won. We go over to the ad court. I return it, I step up on it, you know, this dink serve, step up on it. I think I hit it cross court once again, but I moved into the net. He gave me a high volley, and I overhit it, you know. But he is fairly athletic. He covers, he got from one side to the other pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But I overhit it, I was long this much and wide that much. That was a turning point. If I had to put that in, that was my game. At that point, the score, I don't know whether it was, I was losing 3-4, or I was up 4-3, one of the two. And we went on and played 2 more deuces. We got to deuce 12, and he ended up winning. And that, I set that in my mind. I wish I hadn't said it in my mind, but I just felt that way. It was kind of the, you know, the pulse of the match, or, you know, that kind of energy where it gets up. When you play a long game like that, it does make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who wins that game? Because then he went on to win the second set in the match. And I felt if I had won that game, if I had won after that deuce 10, if I had won that final point, that I would have gone on to win that set.
Well, it changes the dynamics and the emotional state of your opponent and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was, say, you were up 4-3 and you won that deuce 10, you would have been up 5-3.
Yeah.
That puts so much pressure because it's often an emotional point. See, as you're learning, points carry weight to them,
Mm-hmm.
negative or positive weight.
Mm-hmm.
If you just come up and you just miss a shot, the negative weight may not be as much to you, but when you're in a match and a point that big and you miss it, that can carry a weight of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And on your opponent's side, it carries weight also on a positive side for them.
Yeah.
Because that was a big point.
Yeah.
Now they get to go back to deuce.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is.
Yeah.
It does carry weight.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, just a little bit related. In the last 2 or 3 matches I played, maybe even more, gotten to a certain point in these matches where I'm really starting to enjoy the competitiveness. Like, just really, I don't know, just relax to a point where I'm just going out, you know, going into whatever point comes up next, you know, wanting to win it, but just feeling, you know, a little more relaxed and competitive, you know, like enjoying the competitiveness of it. I don't know that I've felt that before, regardless of winning or losing. It's just being in that point where it's starting to enjoy the competition, you know, the game situation.
See, and that's an important turning point, because